Welcome to Made in Walker, the podcast that connects you to the people, the stories, and the ideas shaping our community. From local innovators to everyday change makers, we're diving deep into what makes Walker a great place to live, work, and grow. Here's your host, Nicole DiDonato.
Gary Carey entering his final year as mayor for the city of Walker. So we're looking back on what all he's accomplished during his tenure, but also what lies ahead for his final year in office. And regarding the final year in office, unlike your predecessors, Rob Verheulen and Mark Huizinga, you are not electing to seek higher office, correct?
Nope. Just kind of like the in-laws, sometimes when they stay too long, we want to make sure, I think there's a shelf life. And quite frankly, the privilege and honor it's been serving as mayor of the city is without comparison. And it's not to diminish the need for, I think, good leadership at the state and federal levels. It's not something that is appealing at this time, because it's going to be hard to match what we've all been able to accomplish over these years. So plus, I think I have a wife and family that wants and a day job, business career that wants their person back. So
yeah, you fit a lot in. Yeah. So you've been serving the city of Walker in some capacity since 2013, correct?
And actually, yes, even going back to 1999, I started on my first committee started on the historical committee, and very grateful. And I probably don't give her enough credit. We had her for a short time period as Mayor Barb Holt at the time as a city commissioner. She had championed appointing me to the historical commission, and that really started things. I was really passionate about the local history, and Walker is so rich in that area, and the families that are still there. Some of those are fourth generation, going back that far. So it's been quite a journey, and then going from the appointed to the elected office in January 2013, when then Mayor Verheulen went to the State House, and just been a domino series over the years of different events that keep moving you into a different role.
Sure. And 2019 came, and that was when Mark Huizinga was elected into the State House, and that's when you officially took over as mayor.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Definitely. Little did we know, we had about a good year under our belt before the world got turned upside down that following year.
Yeah. So what were you walking into at that time? It's probably hard for us to remember a life pre-COVID.
Yeah. I think when you think 2019, fabulous leadership, and I just blessed with when I look at what Rob Verheulen did as mayor. There would not be a better mayor for the things that we went through. We went through some of the economic challenges, the loss, the darkest day in our city's history, losing Trevor Slott, in the line of duty. When we think of those years, I don't believe there's a better leader to see us through that, because he kept us straight down the middle of everything, and just was a very, just balancing leader for the community. And then we had Barb in there for a little while, and then Mark came in, and that was a time that we were starting to come out of the economic doldrums. The recession had started to diminish, and Mark and I both had business backgrounds. He's more of that entrepreneurial background, and just a lot of those private sector traits and lessons learned were able to be applied to that. So he really got us started on the catapult thing. So really what I inherited, and each one of the mayors will tell you the same thing, it was running great when we got here. Rob went through some really challenging times in his 12 years serving as mayor, but when I look at that time, I inherited really something that wasn't broke. Yeah. There wasn't a need to come in and fix things. We knew we were going to have to address some public safety things as we were evolving as a city. We knew that we had shovel-ready land in a large part of the city on the north end, and we knew that could be a really quantifiable ROI if we made some infrastructure investments up there. So I think it was broke, don't need to fix it, but there's some things that we could, do from there. And then, got through that first year and learned a lot, learned that proverbial where the bathroom was and the light switch was, because you learned how not to do things. And, coming from a family and had some local government involvement over the decades, I thought I knew a lot, and I really didn't know as much as I thought when I got in there. So
wow. And it's probably something to say when a position or folks teach you more about that role as you're kind of going through it. You do learn a lot, bring a lot with you. What about those priorities, kind of right from the start? You said public safety. We're looking at the infrastructure of our now industrial park. What were some of the things that, if any, had changed through your tenure?
I think when we look at the priorities, when we do the State of the City every year, we stick to the 5 pillars, as I call them. They're really not just my priorities; they're the community's priorities. That it reflects our job as elected officials is to represent our community. And one of the neat things is those 5 pillars really are going to be probably transferable from mayor to mayor, city manager to city manager. Public safety is at the very top. We're a safe, welcoming community. We don't put up with a whole lot of nonsense. It's sometimes it's small ticky-tack stuff that builds into bigger things. So we really don't accept that very well as a community. We take a very proactive and a very community presence on the police side of things. And you see our officers out in the neighborhoods, not just stopping by the lemonade stand, but actually talking with the kids, asking about their school stuff and things like that. People know each other. And I think the fire's just become that same way. And since we've gone to that full-time model, it allows them to be able to make more connections with the community. And that just strengthens us all throughout that process.
Yes. And you were mentioning just how important also building out that industrial park. I mean, that is something, a part of our city that when you came into office, it was still pretty vacant land, and now it is almost built out 6 years later.
It's crazy, but it started that started well over a decade ago. Okay. And at one point in time, what is now Rivertown Mall could have ended up where the state police post is in the FedEx building. And the FedEx building really, I think, was that catalyst to start things. And it was a great partnership. Not many people know that there's we leverage the city of Grand Rapids in what's called a 425 district up there. That allowed us to build out the infrastructure and make it shovel ready for businesses, organizations to come in there. But that FedEx, so going back to, I'd even say Mayor Verheulen and Holt and Heisink, I mean, these things have built over time. So really walking in and making sure that we maintained a focus of pro-business. I feel like the mayor has to be that chief sales officer of the city and the chief cheerleader. So I love getting involved when we have prospective businesses looking to come into the community, and they ask about things like crime, the crime rates in the school, relationships. They ask about housing. And those are things that you're dealing with on a daily basis. To be able to have those conversations, you're able to sell the city, and tell them really, really this is why you want to come here. And not every business is going to be the right fit for us either.
Yes, yeah. Well, how do you translate to the growth up there into just the everyday lives of families here? How do you kind of bring it down to that level? Why it's important that we did develop that area?
Yeah, when I think of the development up there, probably the best analogy I could give is we have a car that we're all riding in together, a bus we're all riding in together. The gas that's gone into that bus for us to be able to ride together has been that growth up there. That tax base impacts us in so many ways. It's allowed us to hire more officers. It's allowed us to go to a full-time fire department, kind of pushed us over that ledge that needing to do that. It's allowed us to make investments into our parks and trails. Quite frankly, it's also allowed us to build out infrastructure and make connections where there weren't those before. Yeah. And so it's grateful to my predecessors. Really grateful to city staff, really grateful to our planning commission, at times zoning board of appeals. Everybody's had a hand in this process in really bringing this all together. But that has been one of our greater success stories, I think, over the last few decades. Yeah,
it certainly has. A lot of partnerships there. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of discussion, you had mentioned just briefly about housing, a lot of discussion over housing as our master plan kind of unfolds, looking for places to put more people as folks want to move to Walker, West Michigan in general. It's not a Walker issue, sure. But how have the commission and you been kind of balancing what's appropriate for the area?
It's a delicate balance. You have a lot. We don't have as much of the not in my backyard, the NIMBY movement that you'll hear the term used at times. We don't have as much of that because I think people do realize the houses that they live in at some point in time were new to an area, and there was older houses there that they didn't want them going in there. So it's kind of this domino effect over time that we all see it at some point in time in our in our lifetimes. And that balance is we have to stay true to our master plan. And really, with our recent updates to the master plan, we have focused on balanced growth, a balance of, single home ownership versus rental as well. For a city made up the way we are financially, there is an impact when we start to tip too much on a rental side of things, so that there's that financial impact is something we're hyper aware of. From a city perspective, it's not that we don't want it; we've encouraged it, and we've approved them where it's aligned with the master plan, and it keeps that community character. We'll do that. But we're really those single family homes from a tax-based perspective for our city that might not to apply to other municipalities is we have to be very strategic in how we approach that.
Yeah, it is a delicate balance, as you had mentioned.
And there's always trade-offs with those too, because it's when you approve one thing, there's always going to be that counter effect.
Yes.
And it could be a number of different things. You just don't know what that is. And you have to think strategically, what is this going to happen? What's that counter effect going to be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? And we have to think of those things, because once you start, you really can't undo that.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what you've always been talking about as we speak, is just strategically playing chess, not checkers, really having to think so far in advance. Yeah. Kicking off the final year of your term, kind of probably surreal to be here already. What are you excited about into 2026?
Right now, I think the top of the list is the really focus. It's the priority is to stay the course. The ship's sailing in the right direction. I think we're going at the right pace. Believe, we're going to have some leadership, some succession planning at the city this year. The recent announcement of our city manager retiring at the end of February. Daryl's been a stabilizing force for us, been a fantastic city manager. That's a key role, because really that's the day-to-day operations of the city. That's who's leading the city. They set the culture within City Hall. They're the ones that really act as the voice of the commission. And the commission really doesn't need to be in there during the day, or the mayor for that matter. That's the person leading it. So that's a critical. So succession planning is going to be a big, and we have some other department heads that will see retirements this year that are longtime members of the city and have played critical roles. They're going to be impossible shoes to fill, but we have to find a way to fill them the best we can. And then I think the other thing too is we have a lot of turnover with our city commission this year. And we're really looking for the people that maybe are in committees already and have had some semblance of serving and know what policy and good governance looks like, maybe that they step into those roles. So that has me actually excited, has me a little worried too, make sure we get, the people coming into the right priorities and wanting to serve the community. But then I think too this year, you're going to hear a lot about public safety as we get into the course of this year. There's a number of things, but I think at the top of the list, the 1st of October, we converted to made that transition to a full-time fire department. We've wanted to do this for a period of time. We hit that breaking point. We needed to do it. We have a tremendous leader in bringing Chief Schultz up here into West Michigan, and he has exceeded expectations at every corner we've turned. And in going to that full-time department, it's we talk about those trade-offs. Okay, our residents and businesses have wanted full-time fire. They've asked for it for a long, long time. We finally have it. Okay, where do they sleep? Mm-hmm. What happens when we have different genders? And we do. So there's these trade-offs that there comes with expenses there that you just don't put beds and room dividers. We have temporary sleeping quarters right now, because we're figuring out what does this look like and how are we going to pay for all this. But the key thing is we have the bodies in there to do that. And our fire department started to take more medicals and take that over from the police. That frees the police department to do other things that are mission critical to their focus. So I'm excited about that piece, but probably get our arms around what's it going to look like to how do we pay for this long term, and how do we put something in place that's sustainable, that allows us to be able to flex with the growth of the community over time and really solve the problems and challenges that come up as well.
And it could be an exciting time for folks maybe who are listening that want to step up into this role. What types of people are you looking for as leaders, commissioners, things like that?
Anybody. It could be a business person. It could be a CEO of a company. We have those living in our community. It could be a person that's a stay-at-home parent. Male or female, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's so many traits that they can bring, but I believe that learning the Walker way has been getting onto a committee, learning how to set governance, policy making, understand the implications like that if we do this is what could happen down the road. Understanding that, not just knee-jerk reactioning and getting behind a fad, a trend, or some social issue. We stay out of that stuff because we understand those long-term implications could be very troubling down the road. So getting people involved so they can understand that and understand what it's like to collaborate, problem solve together, and go through that. So we're looking for people to get involved with those committees and commissions. We will find a spot for you if at all possible on most committees right now. So raise your hand. I want to be heard. The city website's got all the links on there. You've got all your elected official cell phone numbers around there. Reach out to them and ask them, hey, I'm interested in doing this. They'll help make the connection for you.
Yeah. So we know a lot of people, may voice concerns and such, and this is a great way to do it, is to make change. And you were speaking of partnerships and boards. You sit on quite a few, the Rapid, the Zoo Board, John Ball Zoo. So we have a lot of partnerships, Grand Valley Metro Council, all of these regional partners. How important was that in your tenure?
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I learned from Mayor Verheulen and from Mr. Mayor Heisinger as well. For their time, be involved, be present. You learn to collaborate. And really, I would say biasly, I think we have some of the strongest partnerships that we do in the area because of that, because we're that involved with things. It allows us to see not just the microclimate of Walker, but that macroclimate of West Michigan and beyond. And we can all help one another with things. And so I think that's mission critical. I'm very proud of the success we've had with, the Metro Council's been, great in all their support that they've had with our infrastructure projects, amongst other things. But then also, I think of the Rapid, for the first time the last year or so, first time ever, we've had dedicated routes for the Rapid in the city of Walker, not just pass-throughs, but dedicated to the city. That's a pretty cool story as well.
And talking about your legacy, again, I'm going back to that final year. What is it that you want to really leave people, the businesses, the partnerships, the residents, our city departments? What are you kind of thinking?
I look at it not as a personal legacy; it's a community legacy. Yeah. Not about any one individual. This is about Walkers, about community, where the civility we have with one another, the ability to work together, the ability to have a discussion when we disagree on things. It could be, who's got a better basketball team this winter, Michigan or Michigan State, and right now I think Michigan's leaning there a little bit, but we can have these discussions and not get bent out of shape about things. And so I think about legacy. We've been through the pandemic. We've been through some of the social justice challenges that have impacted other communities. We have stayed right down the middle. That ability to be civil with one another. We don't always have to agree. That's okay. I kind of like it that way because we do learn to conflict, resolve things as needed. I think the legacy is one more about community, and to the next person as that baton gets passed next fall is they'll do fine. They won't mess it up. They'll be fine because it's about the community as a whole. It's not about one individual.
Yeah, I love that. Just knowing that we can all reach common ground. You've always kind of preached about that, whether you're up at the commission, we'll all get to a final consensus. Well, we still have plenty of months with you still in 2026. We look forward to all that is coming, and we appreciate your insight into what we can expect. So, Mayor Carey, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we appreciate you joining us as well.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Made in Walker podcast. If you have comments or questions about this podcast, or if you have suggestions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Please drop us an email at podcast@walker.city. Made in Walker is the official podcast of the city of Walker, Michigan. You can find Made in Walker wherever you get your podcasts.